Hey, what's going on YouTube? Gary here, gzduel here to play some Lightrays, and for this duel is really funny because I'm playing someone with like a 50, 60 card deck, and just basically trolling with the effect of Lightray Diablos. So my opponent is playing some sort of dinosaur deck with like Jurassic World, and at first I was like, okay, it seems like I don't have that great of a hand, but I think I can make it work. Especially when I drew into the second solar recharge, I was like, ah, this is going to be awesome. And then I drew into Lumina and Photon Thrasher, which are pretty good. And I'm checking my graveyard. Right now I have 3 different kinds of light monsters. So what I decided to do is just to like keep milling just to set up my graveyard for the first turn. Like mill as many light monsters as possible. So I'm going to go for the I'm going to go for the Card Trooper, and I'll even set the Beckoning Light because what I can do is when I draw more cards with Card Trooper, I am able to get into these Lightray monsters that I milled into the graveyard. So my opponent sets more back row, and at this point I was like, okay, I'm kind of worried now because if my opponent has all these things like Bottomless Trap Hole and stuff, I only have one big Lightray monster and I only have like one Chaos Sorcerer, so I'm not in that great of a position. And I drew into Gearfried, so I was like, huh, if I draw into Gearfried, I can start baiting out some back row with Lumina's effect, and then if I discard the Photon Thrasher, then I will have a warrior monster in the graveyard, and if I have a warrior monster in the graveyard, what I can do is I can use Gearfried. But then he used Trap Hole on my Lumina, so I was like, alright, that seems kind of weird. So I'm going to keep baiting out his back row using Photon Thrasher. Hopefully he'll get rid of Photon Thrasher as well. So I'm going to try to attack into his dinosaur, the Destroyer Saurus. And then what he decided to do was a bit peculiar. I thought, I would just crash into his Destroyer Saurus, but apparently he really wanted it, so he was thinking about what to respond with, and he actually responded with the Dimension Prison. So I was like, oh no, because Dimension Prison really just foils my plan with the whole Gearfried thing, removing a warrior monster from the graveyard to negate Spell Trap. But then I thought he only has one set back row, so what I can do is I can, summon Diablos, and then use Diablos' effect to toy with that one set back row. He only has the Destroyer Saurus, and he only has the 2 cards in his hand. So if I am able to send that back row to the top of the deck, what I can do is I can continually make him draw that card, and he wouldn't have anything, and I'll just slowly whittle down his resources. And so I pick, Lumina because I have 2 of them in the graveyard, and it turns out it is a magical cylinder. So I was like, okay, you can have that on top of the deck. That's no problem with me. And my Diablos is like 2,800 attack, so his Destroyer Saurus is basically going to be mincemeat. And he's going to set 1 card, and just to be safe, he tries to set another card so that there's a 50-50 chance of me hitting the magical cylinder. But I don't really care about that. I don't have any warriors in the grave, so I'm not going to use the Gearfrieds yet. I'm just going to use Diablos' effect, banish one of the 3 Lumina, the Lilas from the graveyard, and it turns out I hit the magical cylinder. And I was like, huh. So I don't know what that back row is, but I'm going to try to test it out. And if I test it out correctly, I can, take turns with the Gearfrieds just to bait out more back row. And it turns out it is nothing. So I was like quite happy with me hitting the magical cylinder actually. So my opponent's turn, of course, he draws into the magical cylinder, and he decides he's going to activate the dark hole that he set. So he was being tricky. He wanted me to maybe send the dark hole to the bottom of the deck or whatever. But unfortunately for him, I drew into another Lightray Diablos. Yes! And so I'm going to summon Lightray Diablos, knowing that his set card is going to be a magical cylinder. And I'm going to use Lightray Diablos' effect, banish another Lila, and then send that back onto the top of the deck again. So I'm just trolling him because he has already like a 50-something card deck, and I am making him draw the same card over and over again without letting him go into any more resources. So at this point I know he only has 1 card, and if it's a Gores, it's not going to work out because he has that field card, and if it's a Tragodia, then it'll be easy for me to get rid of. Plus I have Chaos Sorcerer, so he surrenders. So I hope you guys enjoyed this duel. This is Gary gzduel signing out.